for the last few years, we used to go out to every site and do a training, and we thought it'd be great to bring everybody together so that you all get to meet each other, and then we bring in some outside experts. We have Dr. Carlson here and PCA, a bunch of other great things for you to look forward to. But we hope you all meet each other too and become part of this Fit Kids family. So here is what we're doing today. I get 10 minutes to talk to you and tell you a little bit more about Fit Kids, and then Greta's put together a really great half-day training session for everybody, and as she mentioned, there's coffee here and water and snacks all over, and we'll have lunch in a little while. I just wanted to introduce a couple other people in the room. You guys have all hopefully met Greta, or at least talked to her a lot. David Jacobson is back there. He is part of our Fit Kids team too. He does all of marketing and communications for us. Leslie Schott is back there. She does strategic partnerships for us. Not in the room is Whitney Vanderboom, who does major gifts for us. She's down in LA right now. And then Ian back there. He does a lot of great video projects for Fit Kids, so been with us for a while. Okay, so a little bit about Fit Kids. So I started Fit Kids in January 2011. It's been 7.5 years. And we're getting ready for our biggest year ever. So 7.5 years ago, this started because I wanted to help kids play sports. I love sports. I've played sports forever, and I have 4 kids who love sports, and I just really think it's such an important part of everyone's healthy development. There's obvious physical benefits of playing sports, but the emotional and mental benefits of being active, being part of a team, having a coach who's a role model can be life-changing. And so I started going over to a few schools in East Palo Alto where I had a friend or knew somebody, so they let me go start teaching kids how to play sports. And I found the problem was a lot bigger than youth sports are expensive and cost prohibitive for many families. The problem was kids were having PE, but they didn't have enough equipment, or they had really limited amount of PE during the week, once or twice a week for 20 minutes. A lot of kids don't have safe outdoor space to play in or parents available to take them to the park to play. So for a lot of reasons, the kids I was interested in helping just had a hard time finding opportunities to be active, and so that's what Fit Kids became about. Our mission is to provide structured physical activity opportunities for kids growing up in underserved communities. And we provide our program at no cost to all of our partners, and we work really hard to fundraise, to raise money to support all of those costs. So we're so excited to have all of you as partners. We actually have a bunch of people who are not in this room. This year we're offering programs up in San Francisco, in the San Francisco Unified School District. We have partners in Oakland, and a lot of our San Jose partners are here. Some representation from LA, and we actually just added 10 more schools in LA this week. So this year, we are going to have just over 60 programs and almost 10,000 kids going through the kids program. So thank you again for being part of it. Okay, so we have someone who's going to talk a little bit more about the importance of physical activity, but before she does, I wanted to share with you guys a really quick 3-minute movie preview. So a few months ago, somebody told me about this movie called The Motivation Factor, and I immediately went and watched it, and it was like they made it for Fit Kids. It just blew my mind, and it is a great movie anytime you get a chance to watch it. There's a guy in the movie, his name is Ron Jones. Leslie and I met him a few months ago in LA, and he's coming up here in October to do a couple speaking events for us. I will send you guys an invitation for this Friday speaking event, but if anybody's interested in connecting with him, I'd be happy to do that. He lives in LA, so it would be really easy for anybody who's up here from LA. He is a historical kinesiologist and looks at the history of physical education and why it all began hundreds of years ago and where it is today. So he really specializes in that, and this movie is all about the importance of physical education and being active for kids, which you're going to hear more about, but I still wanted to share this with you.
If we don't turn this around, this generation will be the first in the history of our country to not live as long as their moms and dads.
Ready up! Class 10 foot! We were given a gift 50 years ago that made our lives better.
This is a challenge for us all.
I mean, I practiced this program from middle school all the way through high school.
That this will spread to every school district in the United States. That all of us will participate, and in so doing, will be better citizens and happier ones.
I was hired in '82 by the 76ers as the very first ever in the history of professional basketball full-time strength and conditioning coach. Dr. J and Moses Malone. And in my first year, we won the world championship with them.
Point to any part of your body and we'll start quoting literature, medical studies, into the tens of thousands of articles about the benefits of exercise.
Exercise grows the hippocampal parts of your brain that's important for your memory.
I could see a difference from when I didn't do exercise before teaching reading and when I did do exercise before teaching.
The more fit the kids are, the better they're doing in school.
So I grew up on the south side of Chicago. I was raised by a single mother.
Grew up in inner city, single parent household. My mom didn't have time to get us involved with sports. My activity level, once it dwindled, I filled that with video games and TV, and my grades went from A, B to down to DF.
It's about how do you make the best learner.
Once we see that, you need some forward-thinking schools that are willing to basically restore what we once had, which was mandatory physical fitness.
83% drop in discipline problems from one semester to another, just with that introduction.
I didn't find that there was much racism when you're playing sports.
We saw that racism and gang affiliations stopped at the locker room door.
Doing something together is huge, and exercise is something that has the ability to unite.
That was the beauty of the program. It was designed to benefit all of the students, not just a few.
I have dealt with bullying in the past, like in elementary, but not here at Prescott.
We're in it together. Our motto is all for one for all.
The training I had was at the root of all of my success.
Every day you were met with these challenges.
Challenges. Just loved being challenged every day. Climbing the rope was, God, it was super.
And we always wore shirts, unlike the guys, so.
It helps you grow stronger mentally and physically.
That help children how they can be successful in life.
Like, it pushes you to your limits that you didn't know you had, and so it makes you really determined to finish what you want to finish.
What we found with our physicians is 80% of them had undiagnosed medical problems. And we've seen almost all of that disappear with its activities.
People don't realize what PE was. They don't understand that physical education could do all those things.
It's got to turn around.
It all comes down to the individual. Can you make an individual love being healthy? That's, I think, the secret to all of it.
Gift, and that is the gift of being active, physical activity. So thank you again for being part of Fit Kids. We are always available if you have questions and need anything. And now it's going to be my great pleasure to introduce our first presenter, Dr. Jennifer Carlson. She is a pediatrician who completed her fellowship in adolescent medicine, and she has been an attending at Stanford Children's Health for the past 12 years. She does a combination of inpatient and outpatient care, and her clinical research interests includes the intersection of athletes and eating disorders. So she's going to tell us more about all the benefits of being active. So thank you, Dr. Carlson.
Thanks. So thanks so much for having me. Just to a little background, so I am a pediatrician, and then I went and specialized in adolescent medicine. So basically, I mostly see teenagers now, and I see them for just like checkups and sports physicals, as well as more specialty care in our eating disorder clinic. And sort of interestingly, I think a lot of physical activity, obesity, which we'll be talking about in a minute, and eating disorders, it's sort of like intersected in my clinic. So this is like near and dear to my heart for a number of reasons. And hopefully we can talk about that in about 10, 15 minutes to keep on time. So why does this matter? I think everybody's heard about the obesity epidemic in the United States, and this is one of the things which I feel like we talk about so much that we almost get a little bit numb to it at times. But just to run through a few numbers, just to kind of put it out there. So what we know, and this is for kids, so if you will look, total is for both boys and girls, and then we have it broken down by boys and by girls. But we see that as kids get older, the rates of obesity do increase in each age group. In the earlier years, it's a little bit higher in boys, but kind of by the end, it's equal in kind of boys and girls. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen those graphs. They have a graph of like the United States, and it's different colors, and it shows like over the years, the rates of obesity have kind of increased such that the map actually becomes different colors over time because of this change. And we know that there's a trend that as the years have gone on, kind of the rates of obesity have increased in the United States. The nice thing is that in kids it seems to have slowed, which is great, but it still is overall increasing, which we say is probably an issue because of the kind of the medical reasons that we heard about, and which I'll talk about for a minute here. So there are some health risks, and these are things that I'm seeing in my like 14-year-olds and 15-year-olds in clinic. And even at Stanford now, we actually have a clinic just for obesity that has a bariatric surgery component for some of our patients who are just having a hard enough time that, you know, kind of the typical diet exercise recommendations aren't working, but are actually now having surgery. And we're having these in kind of younger teenagers, which I think is incredibly helpful for their individual lives, but I just kind of, as a big thing, it's still a surgery and it's a big deal. So the things that we see that make us concerned are high blood pressure, high cholesterol. We get worried about type 2 diabetes, and we actually have, you know, a lot of our teenagers now are being diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, which it just sucks as a teenager to be dealing with kind of a chronic illness like that. We see breathing problems, we see joint problems, and people just being like physically uncomfortable. We do see gallstones, we see reflux. And then I think the issues that I actually get even more kind of passionate about are sort of the psychological components, because it's not just the health risks, but it's really like, how does it feel when some of our kids are dealing with this? And we see a lot of kids being really anxious and really depressed. And I've actually had a number of patients who I now see in eating disorder clinic come from a time when they were actually considered like morbidly obese and have lost like 100 and 150 pounds. Because the pressure they were getting was like, you need to lose weight, you need to get healthy. And they've taken it to an extreme where they have lost that weight and have gotten often a lot of really positive reinforcement for doing so. But at the same time, the way that they're doing it has actually gotten them now really medically fragile and actually pretty scary. But I think the pressure to do so and get that way has led to kind of a whole other series of problems. So we also see people really just kind of reporting lower self-esteem, lower self-reported quality of life. I often have kids who just don't want to go out and be active because they just feel like they're not good at it, or people are going to make fun of them, and so then become even more socially isolated, and it kind of snowballs on itself. And then, like I said, kind of social problems like bullying and stigma, and whether that's that they actually had the bullying or they're afraid it's going to happen. I think they both can lead to the same problems. Includes more of the health risk, where they actually result in, it's not just having higher blood pressure or higher cholesterol, it's higher blood pressure and cholesterol that now actually lead to heart disease, heart attacks, and strokes that you would not usually see in kids, but you're seeing more in the adults. So we say this is the time to sort of intervene. So the cure for obesity and what we see is diet and exercise. I would say for a lot of kids, if you say you just need to diet and exercise, like that's not like appealing or interesting. Saying, oh, you just need to eat a bunch more apples doesn't really work. So I think trying to figure out a way to make this like a fun thing. And I try to focus on, I don't want you to exercise for the sake of exercise. I want you to exercise and be active because it feels good, it's fun, it's interesting. Let's like try to focus on what those activities would be like. So in terms of what's actually recommended, if you talk to like the American Academy of Pediatrics, or this is actually from the CDC, so the kind of guidelines nationally, is ideally 60 minutes or more a day for kids to be physically active. And like I think about like for me, like that would be really hard. I'm definitely not active 60 minutes a day, you know, when I'm at work. But like kids like should be, like that's what they're doing. Like they should be playing at recess, playing at lunch, doing these things. And it can look like a lot of different ways. We want it to be a combination of different activities. And it can be aerobic activity, which in adult world means like you go on the treadmill. But for kids, this could be like you're just running around playing kickball. You know, muscle strengthening, bone strengthening exercises. These are all really critical for just kind of overall health, as well as just injury prevention kind of going forward and just feeling better. Now, if we look at, though, how many people are actually getting this amount of activity in, it's like not great. So only about 21% of kids actually got in the hour per day that is recommended. If you look at high school students in particular, only about half of high school students were getting their muscle strengthening exercises on 3 or more days. And like this is like most high schools, at least for the first couple of years, have a PE requirement, right? So like in theory, people are having an hour a day of PE in high schools. But I will say, like talking to patients, and I don't know, kind of talking to kids, like this is really variable. And if I usually will ask, okay, so you have PE every day, like, so what kind of PE do you have? And people are like, oh yeah, like we maybe run a mile once a week for the presidential physical fitness prep. And then we just like sit around and talk about badminton. We're like, all right, so that's not kind of what you would hope for from the typical PE experience. And then you also have schools where PE is like hardcore, and people are running a lot every day and doing more. But I think it's incredibly variable based on the school and kind of the resources there. And then again, how many people even went to PE classes? It said 30% of high school students attended PE classes. And I do think part of that could be a little variation because again, I think a lot of like junior and seniors in high school don't have a PE requirement anymore. And then if people are playing sports, they may not be doing PE, that kind of gets waived. But just like to put it out there that sort of relying on PE in school doesn't always work. And so it's great to think of other ways to get people active. So I think though, what I get more passionate about is sort of physical activity as this idea of a protective factor. And so we can talk about all the health risks and things, but I feel like that's not, especially for some of our teenagers, that's not what gets them motivated to do things because a lot of these health risks do feel like they're pushed off. Like I'm not feeling it now, but if you talk about like what are some of the other things that they're dealing with on a day-to-day basis, you get a little bit more buy-in. So have you talked about like protective factors or sort of know what this concept is of a protective factor? People heard about that a little bit. So I'll say, so the definition is that it's really something that can be done on a number of different levels that basically makes the likelihood of some kind of problems happening decrease. So I say, what are the things that can increase a kid's resiliency? So everybody is going to be faced with problems, with stressors, with crises in their life, and definitely depending on where you're coming from, the resources that you have, those crises and problems will look really different. But I tell kids, like, this is going to happen your whole life. Just what it looks like will differ. And the more skills we can build to deal with those problems, the better you will be. And the better outcomes you'll have for when you're facing those adversities. So there's this model, and it's called the Circle of Courage. And I think it's actually from like Native American culture and tradition, and then has developed into kind of a way of thinking about positive youth development. And a lot of pediatrics have actually used this for how do we kind of think about kids and how to improve their ways of kind of dealing with adversity in life. And so there are these 4 sort of big domains, you could say. So one is belonging. Well, before I say that, I think physical activity hits all of these domains. And that's one of the reasons I'm sort of putting this up there. And so belonging, so a sense of community, of loving others and being. I think that when you're part of a team, when you're part of a group, especially with sports, people get super close. They're supportive. People from all different walks of life can like, again, put that aside and be like, we're a team and we're working for the same outcome. Mastery, which is competence in many areas, cognitive, physical, social, spiritual. It's having responsibility, self-control, striving to achieve personal goals. And again, I think sports and physical activity is like the example of this, where it's not even necessarily winning the race, it's like getting a better time. I think the first time, so I was a high school swimmer, but I was like like the C team high school swimmer. I was not like anything amazing, but I loved it. And then in college, I went and I joined the rowing team. And if anybody knows anything about rowing, like they're 6 feet tall people. I'm like 5'4". So like I was not, again, like some amazing, powerful rower, but I got crazy strong and I was able to do this. And so the first time I did a pull-up, I was just like, I think I've never been prouder in my life. I'm like, I did a pull-up. I never thought I'd be able to do a pull-up. And I was like 20 by the time I could actually do one, but it was like crazy. I'd worked so hard and I achieved that. So that sense of mastery I think is really important. Generosity, so looking forward to being able to contribute to others. And again, especially with team sports and any kind of group activities, I think that you're so valued as being part of that and you have a role. And I think for a lot of kids, they sometimes just don't feel like they have that in other kind of areas of their life. And then finally, independence, being able to make one's own decisions, being responsible for failures or success, and setting one's own goals. Again, exactly what kind of is going on with physical activity. And whether that's like, I want to be able to run a mile without stopping, or even I want to be able to walk a mile without stopping. These are all like really critical things that people can set those goals and then keep them moving forward and developing, and really getting that kind of sense of mastery and control. So then what I see in terms of these attributes is that we actually get a lot of other stuff that when I'm seeing my teenagers in clinic make a huge difference. So as I was flipping through the booklet, I sort of realized everything on this slide is on the first page of one of the booklets, is that if you're physically active, research has shown that you tend to get better grades, you tend to have better school performance and attendance. And some of that is like, I will have kids who will go to school purely because if they miss too many days, they can't play in the game that Friday. Like you have to be in school in order to be on the team. Cognitive performance means people just have better memory, they remember stuff for their tests. And better classroom behaviors. And there are some schools where they actually incorporate like yoga and movement at the very beginning of the day just to keep people focused. You go into rooms where you have kids with maybe more attention problems and they have those wiggle chairs like in the room just so that they can be moving and it actually helps them stay on task. We know that kids are also less likely to engage in substance use and substance abuse if they're physically active. And I've had a number of high schoolers who are like, no, I would never consider smoking because like it'll hurt my performance. I've also heard people say, I won't do it because I get tested. You know, as part, you could be tested as just part of high school games. But again, it's a reason that people are not using, which has a lot of other health benefits. We see higher self-esteem. And then for girls, and not for boys, but for girls, we know that they may be less likely to start having sex at an earlier age. And for girls, that's actually a huge benefit. The longer you can kind of delay that in high school, actually the better health outcomes and the better self-esteem girls have as well. So that is a positive thing. So I just wanted to end on this quote. So there were a few years where I had developed and run a running group for middle school girls. And we had really focused on girls who were not physically active, who maybe the PE teachers were saying kind of struggled more in PE, and we brought them into this after-school running club and said, let's just start trying to get active together. And it was like amazing, and we actually did studies looking at measures of self-esteem and measures of like all these different measures. And pretty much everything improved in a 3-month running group. But I think what kind of got to me more was just what people actually said. So there was a girl who said, I thought the club helped my self-esteem and made me feel better about myself and my body. I used to have crying spells and feel really horrible, but now I feel really good. And I think this is the type of thing that you see when people start getting active and see like, I can actually do this and I have a support for people to actually do it. And so this girl who had refused to join any sports teams, who barely participated in PE, ended up finishing middle school, going to high school, and joining the track team as one of the throwers. So again, like the things that can happen, I think when people have those positive experiences is pretty huge. So that is it. 16 minutes. Thank you. Thanks for being here and doing this.
Thanks, Jen.
Thanks.
You should have a book. Did you guys have a book?
to flip through? So to do this, I'm going to talk first about just sort of the outline of the class schedule, and then we'll talk more about how to use the program in action with your kids. Now, I will say that later in the day, we're going to hear more about how to coach kids and how to interact with kids in the classroom, specifically when it's a Fit Kids classroom. So my part is going to be mostly about just sort of high level, here's what we expect from our partners when they're teaching a Fit Kids class. Sound good? Okay. There is a point to ask questions, but feel free to shoot your hands up or call out if you have a question, whenever it comes to you. Okay, so the goals of the program. Many of you, actually first, can I get hands raised if you're brand new partners to Fit Kids for the 2018-2019 school year? Awesome. Great. Hi, back there. Who are you with? What school?
Cisneros, so it's part of a community level charter academy.
Okay, great. Awesome. Thanks for coming up.
Yeah.
These guys are also from LA. The guy in the yellow, he's from LA. You guys are our LA partners here for today. So welcome new people, renewing partners. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for coming. You guys have probably seen this before. Our program goals, the main one is to make fitness fun. The others include increasing physical activity levels. Obviously, we want more kids to be more active more often throughout the school year. Our program has built-in curriculum that helps us increase fitness skills, increase motor skills, and build confidence in the children's own abilities. The other thing I'll note about the program is it's super flexible. So all of our partners can use it during the school day as part of their PE program. They might use it after school. Some use it before school. Thinking outside of the box, you could also pull it into your classroom schedule, encourage teachers at the school to use parts of the program during the day with the kids if they need quick just bursts of activity to get the kids focused back on the education part of the school day. So looking at the book, go ahead and flip that tab to Unit 1. It doesn't matter what book you're looking at. It could be any grade level. Every class starts with a list of equipment that you'll need for that class specifically. So on this class, it gives you everything you need, 25 waist flags, 10 dots, 6 hula hoops, and so on. The full list of equipment for the entire program year is in the front of the book. It's one of the first few pages. I think many of you renewing partners have seen this list already. I've sent it out in an email for you guys to double check what you already have. New partners, this is the equipment list that you'll be receiving from Fit Kids, probably shipped by email. Or I wish they could send it by mail. And you can see it's tons of stuff. So it comes in a giant bag. It includes medicine balls, agility ladders, speed chutes, which are those you tie them around your waist and they're the big things. So it's a lot of really fun equipment, fitness focused equipment, and also more standard kind of PE stuff. So hula hoops, kickballs, soccer balls, stuff like that. The second part of every class is the warm-up. So to do the warm-up, we ask partners or whoever's leading the class to take a look at the warm-up list also in the front of the book. And you'll just choose any 3 activities from that list to do as a warm-up. This is a starter list, so you are always welcome to do other warm-ups. It's always good to look at the class. I'll say this again later. Look at the class that you're going to do. Try to pick warm-ups that help warm the body up for whatever's coming in the class. This next part is the fitness-focused portion of the class. So this is really the part that makes Fit Kids unique compared to a lot of other physical activity programs or PE or recess, all of that stuff. The fitness focus is what
Fit Kids really cares about. And this is the piece that it increases their fitness skills. It also helps with motor skills. It really helps with their confidence. And it's a workout. So you can see, and so if you flip through some of those classes, the example up here is they're going to do spider lunges, squats, push-ups, up dogs and down dogs. This is the kind of stuff that we would do, all of us, if we were going to the gym to work out. I'll say this again later, but over the course of the school year, this part of the class gets progressively harder. So in class 5, the kids might be doing 15 spider lunges and 15 squats and 15 push-ups. So we'll talk about ways you can kind of make that work for your class in a little bit, but just so you know, this is the part that really progresses throughout the school year. So again, the fitness focus rotates. This is similar to the past programs. Can I steal this for a second? So up toward the front of the book, there's this big spreadsheet. It's before Unit 1. And you can see on there in the column that says fitness focus that these skills are rotating every 5 classes. So first class, push and squat. When you get down to the 6th class, it'll be push and squat again. Does everyone see that in their spreadsheet? And again, as it rotates, it also gets progressively harder. Okay, moving on down to the next part of the class. Every class will have a fitness game, an obstacle course, or a relay race in this next section. So depending on the grade level, if you're looking at a K through 2 book, you'll see a fitness game. If you're looking at 3rd, 5th, or 6th, 8th, you'll see either an obstacle course or a relay race first. The purpose of this section is to reincorporate those fitness skills, but in a more fun way. This used to be, obstacle courses, relay races, this used to be in the program. It was not in last year's program. We got a lot of feedback from partners that was missing. The kids really like that. They want it back. It's a fun way to use a bunch of the equipment, and it looks great when, it just looks exciting for the kids. So that's why this is back in. And every time there's an obstacle course, you'll see a diagram like this. So it'll kind of tell you how to lay things out, so you don't have to figure it out on your own. It's also written in text, so you can read through how the kids are going to work through the obstacle course, but also visually see it. And at the end of the class, every class ends with a more traditional PE game. This has always been in the program. We've kept it in this year because we know that some of our partners use Fit Kids as part of their PE curriculum. We also got feedback last year that it would be great to know if Fit Kids meets PE standards for the state of California. So, sorry, I'm looking at you, but we have partners in Nevada, so they, unfortunately, I don't know if we meet Nevada standards. We do meet many of the state PE standards with this program. We are not PE, so we don't have to meet those standards, but for anyone who's curious, we do meet several standards. And then at the end of the day, you'll cool down, stretch, kind of wrap things up, and this works the same way. You'll choose stretches from the list at the end of the book, and again, try to choose the stretches that really stretch out the muscles that you work. So if it was a big squat day, you might do the flamingo stretch. Really work out those quads. Any questions about that and the way the class is laid out? Okay, I'm going to show you how to access this curriculum online. So, everybody got a book. I know we ran out of some books, so you'll get what you need. You should have received books that are appropriate for the ages that you'll be working with based on your program application that you sent to Fit Kids. And every partner gets one book per grade. However, you can access all of the curriculum online, and that way you can print as many copies of every class as you want. So to do this, you'll go to fitkids.org and you'll enter in your password. I sent out emails earlier this week with everyone's passwords. If you have a name tag on, your password is also the school that's on your name tag. So it's pretty straightforward. So you'll just enter in your password. And that takes you to the Coach's Corner. So all of this information in Coach's Corner is obviously password protected. It's only for our partners to use. I encourage you to take advantage of that. So you'll see in here there's a training, there's this Fit Kids video glossary. Sergio Maldonado is coming. He'll probably show up in any minute. He's going to do some in-person demonstration of exercises for us today, but he's also the person that does all these videos. So he kind of talks through.
The next exercise I want to teach you is a vertical jump. It's a total body power exercise. You want to start with your arms down, hips back, neck.
He talks through each of the exercises in the Fit Kids program. So if you're not familiar like with an up dog or Spider-Man, you can come here, check out these videos, get some language to use and how you describe it to the kids and like certain tips you want to be sure that they're getting right. So when they're squatting, you want to make sure their chest is up, stuff like that. These videos can also, if you're interested in sharing this with your classroom teachers, you can also have them log in, pull up a video, and like with the classroom do 3 or 4 of these. Okay, so back to the Coach's Corner. This is also where you'll be able to download all of the curriculum. So you'll click on whichever grade you're working with. And it's basically a layout of the book. So we've got the equipment list up here, warm-ups, stretches, and then each of these class numbers is where you'll click to get the class. And then you can print it. The last thing in Coach's Corner that I'll point out is all of these past seasons are available for you too. So if you happen to work through all 50 classes in the first half of the school year, this is a great resource. You can come here, pull some new classes. Some of the equipment is different for these seasons, but you should be able to kind of piece together using past seasons curriculum with your new equipment. Any questions about this? Some of our renewing partners, do you guys have thoughts about, or like, what would you say to the new people about using this website? Anything? Yeah.
I'd say like it's really straightforward. So like, hey, I need new stretches. Okay, I just click on the stretches link, gives me the whole list. I can either pick, or maybe I can print that whole list out and have the students pick a stretch. So it's really like all the information is right there. So you don't have to like search through it. I don't know where it is. It's pretty straightforward.
Cool. Thanks. Any other thoughts from past partners? Okay, let's jump back in. So the last piece about the curriculum that I want to note, and I may not play this video based on time. So in the curriculum, so if you flip to like class 3, there should be a class 3 with a full curriculum, and class 3 and 4, somewhere around there, that says testing at the top. The testing days are optional for our partners. We do them with our coaches at the schools that we work with in Ravenswood. However, if you are interested in doing testing, I certainly encourage you to do that. It's a great way for kids to see how they're improving over the course of the year. So do it if you want. If you do it, please let us know. We'd love to hear how it is going and what your results are. It's based on the presidential physical fitness test. So we've just pulled 4 tests from that: the shuttle run, the sit and reach, push-ups, and sit-ups. Wait, that clock's not working. It's 9:25. Yeah. Okay, I will play this. I'll play part of this video, just so you guys can see. This video teaches you how to do each of the exercises. So if you've never done this before, I recommend learning first how to do it so that you're measuring every student correctly. Starting before you even have class, the first thing you have to do is read the class plan. Make sure you know what's happening at class, make sure you know what equipment you need, sort of prepare yourself for any ways that kids might be resistant or way too excited, and you'll need to sort of control that. Just visualize how the class is going to go before you actually get to class. I know that days can be, some days are better than others. So some days we have lots of time to think about things and really prepare. Other days we don't. When you feel like you're coming to class and you're not as prepared as you'd like to be, use the kids to help you. So kids can, everybody knows my United Mileage password. Kids can help set up, they can help clean up, they can help choose warm-ups, they can help choose cool-downs. Use the kids to sort of help you get through the class. It also helps them stay engaged and, oh shoot. So like on all those rowdy days, if you're using the kids to help you, it'll keep them engaged. Okay, let me try to pull this back up 1 second. 1 second. Okay, so again, come prepared. Let's get into it. So when you start the class, we want kids to know that they're participating in Fit Kids. So yes, they're in Coral after school program, and they go to school at Camino Nuevo, Castellanos. But this hour of time is Fit Kids time. So welcome into Fit Kids class. Today we're going to work on pushing, squatting, catching, throwing. We're going to do a relay race. Let's get started with a warm-up. So we're going to do 10 jumping jacks. We're going to run to the fence and back, and then we're going to do 10 squats. Everybody ready? Go. And then count. 1, 2, 3, all together. So get them excited. Let them know they're participating in Fit Kids. Keep the momentum going from the very start. When you're doing the warm-up, you can do it all together as a class. I've seen, when I visited classes, I've seen partners do that all together, and they kind of make a circle, or maybe they're in a line. The other thing you could do is break up into groups and have like this group do their jumping jacks first, this group run to the fence and back. All of this stuff is flexible depending on the number of kids you have in your class and the space that you have as well. And get the kids involved by counting, so they can count how many jumping jacks they're doing. They can do that all together. Give them ways to use their energy throughout the entire class. They can also help choose the warm-ups. I've said that a couple times. So during the fitness stations, I mentioned earlier that this is the portion of the class that gets progressively harder over the course of the year. So if you flip to Unit 3 in your books, and remember the very first class of the year, students are doing about 10 of each thing in the fitness stations. What's the number now in your book? 30. Or 40. What did you say? 30. So if your students are struggling to do 30 at once of whatever it is, you can do as many rotations through the stations as you need to do. So you might start off by doing 10 at each station, do another rotation to do 10 more. The goal is to reach that high number. It's okay if it doesn't happen all at once. The best way to set up the stations is to have 4 cones. So every fitness station will have 4 different activities for every class. So the way I would do it is say the yellow cone, when I'm explaining it, I would say, okay, we're going to do it at the yellow cone. At the yellow cone, we do 10 squats. After you do your 10 squats, we'll run over. At the red cone, we do 10 push-ups. Red cone, 10 push-ups. Yellow cone, 10 squats. Green cone, something else. Blue cone, the 4th thing. You'll have to tell them and also demonstrate for them what they're doing at each cone. Again, depending on the number of kids, you might all go to each cone together, or you divide them into 4 groups and have the kids separate up into the stations. This is kind of a new thing for Fit Kids in terms of the curriculum and the class plan. So are there any questions about this? Okay. So moving to the fitness games, obstacle courses, relay races, this stuff, again, is all about building fitness skills, building motor skills. The kids get to practice teamwork. So there's a relay race with the speed chute. There's teamwork and getting that thing off, switching it to the next team member, letting that person go. There are 3-legged races. That's huge on teamwork. You literally cannot do it if you're not in step with your teammate. Also with these games and obstacle courses, it's a great lesson in patience and listening. So it will take time in explaining how the obstacle course works, explaining how the relay race works, and that's going to be, a classroom management skill that we'll hear about later. So you'll get to have that experience with your kids too, teaching them how to look, we're going to do a fun thing in a second. Listen to me tell you how to do it first. And then PE games, same thing, more practice for teamwork, fitness skills, motor skills, patience. And again, our PE games in here meet many state standards. We actually worked with a PE teacher to help us develop these games. So he checked that during that process. At the end of the day, this is a fun time so you've chosen your stretches, you're working on them as a group. Ask your kids what they learned in Fit Kids that day. Recap the lesson plan. So today we did push and squat. What was your favorite movement from the day? What are you going to go home and talk to mom and dad about when you get there? What do you feel like you really worked your muscles? Are your arms tired? Stuff like that. Have the conversation with the kids so they know I'm working on these skills. This is something we do this every time in Fit Kids, and I enjoy it. They have fun talking about it. Okay. Any questions? Yeah.
Greta, I'm curious to hear from especially the more experienced partners, what kind of responses they get from the kids when they do ask those questions.
Yeah, that's awesome. Let's hear it. What do your all's kids think about Fit Kids?
Sometimes the kids are very, it just depends because not a lot of kids get physical activity at home. So sometimes they do come negatively, but you try to be positive, oh, no, this is really fun. I know you guys get tired, but at the end of the day, you guys feel more energetic.
Yeah, that's awesome. So after doing Fit Kids, they have more energy. Is that kind of what?
Some of them do. Some actually do. They actually feel a little bit more better. They're like, oh, I feel good after this. I don't feel bad.
Mm-hmm. And what school are you with?
I'm actually with Washington, but I actually got exposed to Fit Kids subbing with Washington.
Okay. And what's your name? Sorry.
Jennifer?
Jennifer.
Garcia.
And that's with Coral down in San Jose.
Mm-hmm.
Who else has received feedback from their kids and wants to share? Yeah.
So, a lot of my kinders did it both between PE and then they had it in after school. And so I saw a lot of my ones who were shy no longer be shy. Instead, they were more competitive, more vocal. So I saw a huge change, of them coming out of how Fit Kids, the games, activities, help them become more social. And very active, so especially because we're there from 7 to 4, and they're from 7 to 6, so they're very active.
And you are
I'm Omni, I'm from Kids Valley in East Palo Alto.
Thank you. One more, Jose.
My name's Jose, and I'm from Castaño, and what I've seen in our kids, the younger groups, K through 2nd grade, they're a little bit resistant at first. They suddenly feel ill when they want to do it. And you have to talk to them and just tell them all the benefits of it. And then by the end of the session, they're happy they did it. So it is very helpful.
So Fit Kids has health healing power too.
Yeah, it does.
Thank you guys for sharing. Thanks, David, for bringing that up. Okay, the last little bit that I'm going to talk about, which will take me maybe 5 more minutes, and then we're going to do something active, partnership responsibilities. So, many of these things you have already done. I think most people in the room have sent me their program application. Most people in the room have signed their program agreement. Most people in the room have done their equipment inventory, although not everyone, I think. So please do that for me. And obviously you are all here at this training, so you're doing that right now. So the piece I'm going to talk about mostly is reporting. And Fit Kids does reporting in 2 different ways. The first is monthly reports. These are sent to you by SurveyMonkey. It is all about collecting usage data. And we collect this data to inform our funders mostly, but also to know, it helps us to catch if you guys aren't using it quite enough or maybe something's off. Then we can ask that question, what's going on? Are you having issues with their curriculum? Or, we can have those conversations based on these surveys. So these come to you at the 1st or around the 1st of every month, and it's due to us about 10 days later. The questions you can expect to see are how many total kids are participating in Fit Kids, how many total hours are you running Fit Kids every week, how many grades, which grades, and we're also adding questions this year about fitness skills, motor skills, and social emotional learning. So those are some new things that Fit Kids is really trying to track. We want to know, we just got this anecdotal information about how kids are loving it. It makes them feel good. We want to see that in writing so we can report that to our funders and hopefully get more funding in the future to work with more partners. So monthly reports, that's the first way. The second way are these twice yearly reporting. So these are more program evaluation reports. They're more detailed surveys about how you like Fit Kids. So, is the curriculum working? Here's some sample questions. What about the equipment? Is it age appropriate? Is it easy to communicate with us at Fit Kids? Again, how much improvement did you see in fitness and motor skills and social emotional learning? And then those very broad, open questions that are on every survey. What did you like the most? What needs to be changed? What did you like the least? These surveys come, like I said, twice a year. So the first one will be in the middle of the school year, usually around December. The second one will be toward the end, usually around May. Any questions about reporting? You guys have new partners? Anybody? This stuff is all, you'll learn more as you do it, but if you have questions.
Would it be emailed to us directly?
Yeah, so it would come to, if you guys are the ones teaching, it would likely come straight to you through SurveyMonkey. So you'll get the email from SurveyMonkey. The way it works is, for some of our partners, my contact person is not the person that runs the class, and that's okay, but they get the survey and then they have to ask their people for the information. So we'll all be in touch about who gets it. Yeah. Yeah.
Can you just mention how long each survey is supposed to take?
Oh yeah. The monthly surveys are less than 5 minutes. I think it's a total of maybe 6 questions. The twice yearly surveys take between 5 and 10 minutes. Those really depend on how thorough of responses you give in those open-ended questions. Okay, one other thing that we might ask partners for. Yeah.
Do we need to submit data to you in any way, or is it just based on our evaluation of programs?
So good question. The short answer is no. So the only information you'll share with us is what we get through these surveys. However, if you do choose to do the fitness testing and you want to share with us how those worked, what the outcome of those tests were, we'd be happy to, we want that data. Yeah. So other things we may ask you guys for, pictures are amazing. We use them in all of this picture on the front of the book, your kids could be the front of the book next year. We always need quotes for our newsletters and emails and funder reports. We love stories, fitness testing results. We would love to get those too, if you're doing that. I've reached out to partners before to explicitly ask for this stuff, but send them whenever you have them. Don't wait for me to ask. If you have a great picture or a great quote, just send it to me. So that is all for me. I'm gonna have Sergio come up. I'm gonna introduce him.
All right, hi everybody, how's it going? Good, good. So I'm the guy from the videos. I'm a trainer, just a quick intro on me, really fast. Trainer over at Access down in Menlo Park. That's how I got connected with Fit Kids through Ashley. And obviously, all right, hi everybody, how's it going? And I've seen her, work as hard as anybody, which is, that's what it's about. And, what I'm hoping to bring is, just to give you guys a sense of, what the kids are going to be interacting with, are going to feel. You mentioned illness and negative feelings, but I know at the same time, when we're doing stuff as a group, right, sometimes that helps you kind of encourage a positive atmosphere, right? And I know everybody here, because you're partners, you're coming into this with a very positive attitude, encouraging. Just in my experience, I've always found there's just a really, deep richness as far as sense of purpose with teaching, coaching, training kids. I feel like that's like the front line of what we're trying to do. Whether, your personal mission is You know, maybe you played sports as a kid and you want, you know, other kids to be active, or you have friends or family members who you wish were more active, and maybe if they had a positive experience as a kid, maybe be better later. I mean, there's no wrong time to start. You know, I'm even thinking of just like my parents, right? You know, so they're, you know, in their late 60s, and, you know, for me, it's still one of those things where you gotta encourage, you know, I can't force them to exercise, you know, as much as fun as that would be, like, as like, easy as that would be, it has to be intrinsic, right? And I think that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to kind of sneak in a little bit of an intrinsic value in doing it, because they're like, oh, you know, I remember, you know, when I was in 3rd grade and I did this program, Fit Kids, I had a lot of fun. You know, that's not too different than, you know, when I go to this gym and see a fitness class, I know how to use this equipment, I can do a squat, I can, you know, I feel capable of doing this, right? Or they can even teach other people, right? Or they, you know, maybe eventually those kids will become partners in the future. I mean, there's all sorts of possibilities. So I mean, that's, I feel like, really big driving purpose here, and which I feel everyone here shares. And you know, I mean, I think it's just more engaging, being able to do things while we're moving, and really experiencing. And that, I mean, I think we both learn through, you know, interactions with people, and I think we all understand that we probably learn the least, we don't learn as well when we're just kind of sitting down, you know, writing something or looking at a video, right? You got to experience it, and your kids are experiencing that firsthand with you every time you're there. Maybe they're having a bad day, maybe it's a distraction, but at least they get to do something fun. And from looking at the programming, all the exercises there, they build off of each other, they're integrated into a game, and part of it is, you know, both getting the exercises nailed down, which is important, and, you know, as a person who's a trainer, you know, I understand how important it is to do exercises correctly and safely. You know, those are kind of the baseline ideas, but then the higher level ideas is, you know, the people they're hanging out with, or the people they're teaching them, I should say, and the kids around them, you know, and being able to create an environment that's fun, not rigid, not, you know, something that they don't look forward to, something that they eventually do look forward to. And maybe at first it's not you know, it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for me. I don't want to exercise a lot of times, but I'll do it and I feel better. And for me, it's not necessarily, you know, I have this goal, I want a 6-pack, this or that. It's just, I want to feel better today. And then for me, that's what it does. And then I think that's something that you can bring to the kids here. Can we move the room around a little bit? Does that work?
Yeah. What do you
Nice.
mean?
Maybe just a little open space in the middle.
Yeah.
Does that work? If we can kind of get like tables off to the side. Can you guys help out doing that? That'd be kind of nice.
Can we push the tables forward instead?
That works. Yeah, perfect.
Deeper?
My bad.